We begin tonight from Kaduna, where bandits are reported to have killed the pastor of an Evangelical Church in the state. Pastor Dauda Bature, who was initially abducted by the armed men, was killed despite the payment of an unspecified amount of money to his captors as a ransom for his release. Although police authorities in Kaduna have yet to react to the killing, a top member of the church confirmed the death of the clergyman. The body of the pastor is reported to have been found days ago after his family paid the ransom demanded by his abductors.
Meanwhile, bandits have invaded a village in the state where they forcefully took away a woman and her 4 children to an unknown location. The police say the assailants carried out simultaneous attacks on the residential area at Sabo GRA. After an exchange of gunfire with the police, the attackers reportedly set the residents ablaze and fled into the bush. The police say they have launched investigations into 2 incidents and efforts are ongoing to rescue the abducted victims.
Okay, we are now joined from Kaduna by Reverend Joseph Hayab, the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria in the state, to discuss the tragic development. Reverend, this is not a pleasant time, a pleasant day for the Christian family because of the death of this pastor, abducted, and the collected ransom. What are the thoughts of the Christian community and the family right now?
Well, let me start by thanking you people for having me this evening. But sincerely speaking, we are mourning, we are grieving, we are sad, we are disappointed, we are in pains. We even lack words to tell the wife of Pastor or Reverend Dauda Bature, because after the kidnap of her husband, she was called by the bandit after long negotiation. He was kidnapped on the 8th of November, and on the 18th, she went to give them what was agreed as the amount. They now kept her hostage also, and they never released her until Monday the 6th, and she came home. We were hoping that to add more, to look for more money. So our hope was that it's money that is the matter. But sadly, 2 days later, that is on the 9th, they shot the man and killed him. And so if they really wanted money, why didn't they just wait for the money to see what effort is being made? But because there is more to their agenda than just wanting money, and they just kill him. It's a painful experience, but this is just one among many that people are familiar with. The same yesterday, 19 members of a community called Gugwa and Conte Waziri and Conte Audu, who were kidnapped on the 3rd of October. The fact is that when the bandit took them away, 46 of them, they actually picked them in church. Many people didn't know about this story. They picked them and took them away, and somehow they took 45 across a river. And one of the young men who looks agile and strong resisted them and fought them and injured one of the gang leader. Angrily, he escaped because he told me yesterday, he was with me face to face and told me how he could even snatch their gun. But because he knew the security implication, he threw it into the sea and ran to another village and told them. Then they looked for money, and he got a vehicle to come, badly injured all over his body. The fact is that I could see the wound of the gun on his body. And they just the bandit who survived this relative struggle with the young man, when they arrived at the camp, they selected 4 able people that they know are related to the young man and shot them dead right there. It was yesterday night around 7:30 that these people were released. Somehow the security men also find them and took them to one deep to treat them. So this is the kind of situation we are going. Every day, mothers are afraid their husbands will not come back. Parents are afraid children will not come back. Neighbors are afraid their colleague will not come back.
Well, Reverend, this is, one story too many. If you look at all of the stories coming out from Kaduna, from Niger, from Sokoto, the killings, the wanton killings, despite, the efforts that, government agencies and security agents are telling us they're putting in, why are we finding it so difficult, in your opinion, to see an end to these killings, especially by the people that have been tagged as bandits?
The truth about it is that human life in Nigeria today is not even as important as the life of a chicken, because the chicken could be spared, but the human being can be killed. We just keep counting numbers. But as you ask, Why is all effort by government not yielding result? Because the effort to me are obsolete, they are not effective, they are more of media show than reality. I'll give you an example. When for over 2 months, the telecommunication in Kaduna State was shut down, to me I find such primitive, because in a modern age, where technology is being used to track criminals, technology is being used to expose evil, technology is being used to show where you are when you are thinking you are hiding, we were shutting down technology for criminals. This young boy who struggled and survived said, and I quote, that part of what he recovered from those he fought with was their gun and walkie-talkie. So that means the criminals are even more advanced and sophisticated than we do. So when we try to come up with a program that we want to use it to address it, we end up punishing the common people, we end up punishing the masses, not really to attack the criminals. But I do know that these criminals are not spirits, they are human beings, they can be tracked. That's why I've always advocated that we must develop and begin an honest, all-inclusive security dialogue where people in the community can honestly trust the police, trust the government, trust everybody to open up and tell what they are seeing. What is happening around us is that people don't even trust the system. So they are afraid what they see, if they say it out, it will endanger them. So people are not talking. For some of us who have resolved to be crying out, we know what we get out of it. We got bashing, we get called with names, but we are not going to deter, because the reality is that this is our country. We must do something, but we cannot do it without an honest, inclusive dialogue. We have bastardized the traditional institutions that used to be helpful to us, to bring people together, to unite people and dictate a visitor and who is not a visitor in a community. Today we've rendered them impotent. So there's nothing they can do. They are just watching. So what we have today is praise singers, people who just want to say what do not happen, and at the end of the day probably they are being gratified by some amount, but those who will really tell us when they see something to say something are even being hunted for. So nobody wants. The bandits, in the other hand, have actually known that the government is weak, the government cannot do anything, so they are daring government. Look at the effort. 2 days ago they were in Ngombulus. They kidnap people in Ngombulus. Yesterday, they were in Sabo GRA. If you know where Sabo GRA is to where I'm speaking to you, that means in 2 days, or probably any moment from now, they could be here. So who is safe?
Quite pathetic, and it paints a real, black scenario of what the people are going through. It's like most of the attacks, like you've said, are in the outskirts of Kaduna State. You want to quickly tell us what's the security presence like there? Because they're very vulnerable. I mean, go to church and you pick 40, 50 people.
Even the mosque is not left out.
The mosque, yes. I mean, Niger State, for example, they go there, they massacre the people, they kidnap them and the rest. It happens around the precincts of Kaduna State. What's the security presence there like?
Well, on the pages of newspaper, we have security everywhere. On radio talk, we have security everywhere. On the television, we have security everywhere. But in reality, we don't have security in the key places we're supposed to have. Because it also has to do with deployment. How do we deploy them? Which strategy, which place do we put them? But you see, because I'm not an army or I'm not part of the security, I'm only a stakeholder. Sometimes the problem with Nigeria is that those who are working in a particular field believe that nobody should offer any advice to them, they know it. And sadly, they keep using the same tactics, the same process, the same pattern every day, and there is no result. I think we need to look at our deployment. I've always made this argument, I'm going to make it again today. That have you seen that if we have in Kaduna State 200 banks, that means we have about 200 to 400 police who are supposed to be serving in Kaduna State guarding banks. These banks are supposed to employ their security men, train them, and even obtain firearm, licensed firearm, and give their security men. But they carry our police, and then they are telling us that you are short of manpower, but you've given more than half of your manpower to banks that are supposed to have them. And they give gratification monthly to who? not to the coffin of the government, but to some individuals who are privileged to be in certain position. Not only that, some VIPs around us are guarded in their homes, in their office, and when they are moving in their convoy, you see 15, 20, 30 police. Well, the entire citizens are in danger. If we can go and look at the deployment of our police, take them away from where they're supposed not to be, and put them to guard the people. Any other person who wants to do a private arrangement should pay his money and do it. Likely we will reduce this argument that every day we are telling people that we don't have enough police. But who are those? The other day I attended a conference and I saw more than 200 to 300 policemen sitting idly in a conference that to me was more of rhetoric, no action. And I asked myself, is it the same policemen that they are telling us they are not enough and they have enough to bring them into this place and just sit down and while away 6 hours for nothing? If it is ribbon training, then let's know that this particular set have been trained this month, another set next month. You can't carry all of them for one day training or all in the same training, because you need to deploy others to train. So there is an error in deployment, and I think the military and those that are working should learn to do it better, and then we can use technology at this time. It will work great deal.
Of course, calling for a change of strategy and the deployment of technology to battle insecurity. Reverend Joseph Hayab, the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria and Kaduna State, thank you for joining us tonight on the program.